Right, good afternoon, everyone. This is my Friday's principal pitch. This time, it's actually on a Friday. We've finally had our first full week since the start of term, and I guess you could say things are back to normal. But they're never really normal. There's just a week change between normal. And this week, it was the start of the exams. We had our Year 13s start their IB exams on Tuesday. Our Year 11s went on study leave today, and they've got their GCSEs ahead. So all change in that regard. I'm going to start off just with a few important reminders for the weekend and for next week. Tomorrow morning, we've got the Convex end to end. We've got the Warwick to end leaving. It leaves at 9:30, but we're asking people to meet out front at 9 o'clock. We'll have the gates open. You can park here. We'll get everyone together and we'll head up onto the railway trail. That's 9:30. The Warwick to end leaving to join the other walkers. And then on Sunday, we've got the Outstanding Teen Awards. Those are our Year 13s who've been nominated for a variety of different categories. Looking forward to seeing what happens there. That's in the afternoon at the Ruth Seaton James Auditorium. And then just looking ahead to next week, we've got the Relay for Life. And I know there's some communication that's gone out about our Warwick Academy presence, which is very much student-driven, student council and our Year 12 student leaders. Always a pleasure to see what they do over the weekend, and obviously a very important cause. So if you are looking to sign up there, please do and come and join us. Right, and in the theme of changing things up, I've got Mr. Mark Thorpe with us today. And what I'm going to be doing over the next few weeks is sort of shooting the breeze with Mark on a variety of different things. You'll all know that Mark goes into retirement, taking a bit of a career break at the end of this year. And I thought we'd use that opportunity to reflect on a few things at Warwick Academy. And Mark, thanks for joining me. It's great to have you here. We can take a deep breath here and relax.
So my first time in front of the camera.
That's right. It's always good, always for a first time. All right, Mark, so your time at Warwick Academy is drawing to a close. And tell us all what you're up to next year.
Well, I think just going back to the why, we as a family, we love to travel. And it's time for us to take a little bit of a break from the day-to-day that what we're doing. We love to travel. We've got lots of friends around the world who I've taught with, who have moved on to new places who we want to go and visit. It's interesting that when I first came to Bermuda, it was going to be part of a around-the-world trip. I was going to teach internationally. This is going to be my first stop. I had a 3-year work permit. I intended to move on afterwards. But during my 3rd year here, I met my wife, Jane, who's Bermudian. And here we are 28 years later, I'm still in Bermuda. So for us, it's a bit of a time to just kind of move on and just kind of try something different. So the first thing we're going to do is we've purchased a motorhome. We're going to spend a few months traveling around Europe. Not really got any set itinerary. We're just going to travel from one country to the next, see what kind of happens. And I think for us, that's going to be a bit of an adjustment. We, as teachers, we have very defined days in terms of what we're going to be doing. You're always busy. There's always something to do. Now we're going to be changing to a time when we're going to be, we don't know where we're going tomorrow, how long we're going to stay in one place, or what we're going to be doing. So that's going to be interesting. So we'll see. And how long are we going for? We don't know at the moment. We're going to take a couple of years. We're going to see how things go. We will be returning to Bermuda now and again because we've got family here. When I'm here, I'll definitely be back and I'll be popping in to say hi to everyone. I think there's like a really important quote that kind of drives this, and I think it's there's 7 days in a week, and some day is not one of them. And if you don't go and do these things now, you might never have the opportunity to do those.
No, absolutely. And Mark, I'm sure not just myself, there are people listening going, wow, wonderful opportunity. Wish I could do that. And I know, Mark, you'll be missed. We've obviously shared that with the school community, and we've been going down a succession plan with replacing your position with Ms. Matthew Souza and various others. And I like your the fact that you're going to be back in Bermuda. And I know we've chatted about staying in contact with Warwick, and you never know what happens next.
You never know.
So watch the space. But let's shift into sort of more the school conversation this Friday. You've spent now 12 and a half years at Warwick Academy, started as a chemistry teacher, ended up as head of secondary. So you've seen quite a long tenure through and quite a lot of change. What are your thoughts on sort of significant improvements, innovations, memories that you're going to leave with?
That's quite hard to pin down when I started thinking about this. There's so many different areas that Warwick Academy has kind of grown since I started back in 2013. Think about facilities, for example. Think about what we've added. We've done sixth form extension, we've done STEM rooms, we've done learning enrichment rooms, we've done sports pavilions, we've done who knows how many kind of builds of small classrooms, renovations. Every year there seems to be something going on, and a lot of that is down to, in part, from the donations that people add to the school and from WAPTA and things. Other areas like results, exam results, we've seen great growth in those. Enrollment, I mean, we're not, I'd like to think we're now the school of choice on the island, and some year groups we've got a good wait list and people want to come to Warwick Academy. Curriculum, we've developed our curriculum. You look at our co-curriculars offerings, we've got so many kind of things in that kind of area. And then the little things like the accreditations, the IB 5-year reviews that just kind of like our checks and balances on what we do. Our CS accreditation is a big one, and we've got so many links to different other associations which are going on. But when I kind of reflect back, I think there's 3 big things where I think we've made a lot of progress in the last kind of almost 13 years. And I think the first one is holistic education. When we think about the opportunities we give to our students, co-curricular perspective, we've got activity afternoons and now enrichment activity afternoons for Key Stage 3 students. We've got so many opportunities in the areas of music and dance and community service. And our sports is thriving. We win so many kind of different things. There's so many different opportunities for students to get involved, and that's what we say is, we want you to come to Warwick. We want you to get involved in something outside of the classroom. That's really going to help to develop you as a person. And I think it's all those kind of little life skills that we do. We've got a much better, developed careers program. We do a lot more kind of university prep. We take students to visit universities, and then there's a whole kind of trip side of things. We run trips to multiple ski trips. This year we're off to Peru. We've got university trips. We've got Berman. So many different kind of opportunities to our students.
No, there is a lot on offer.
Yeah, so I think that's the first thing for me, just kind of developing the whole kind of student. I think the second thing is we've definitely transitioned to much more of a student-centered approach. If we think about certain areas like our pastoral system, we're much more about positive behaviour, encouraging the students to make the right choices. About developing those kind of relationships, not just with their peers, but with the teachers and everybody else around school. And then kind of just curriculum-wise, it's not a one-size-fits-all when it comes to curriculum. We've got multiple pathways in multiple year groups. We've got that flexibility in terms of whether some students do a language or some students don't do humanity, or, they don't do an arts, or, whatever they kind of need, we try to make it work for them. And then I think the third thing is just, the growth that we see in our students. When I see them now at valedictory service, which is another thing we've introduced over the last kind of 13 years, it's when you see them come from year 7 all the way through to year 13, they've matured. They're making wonderful decisions. They're going off to great places, most appropriate places for them. And then we see that in the future they're off. They've graduated from university. They're now working in some big career job, making more money than I'm making. But they're getting involved and they're making a difference in their community. So I think for me that's kind of the three kind of big things that we've made a lot of progress in. And just in terms of memories, what am I taking away from Warwick Academy? I think there's number one answer to that, and it's kind of the memories of the relationships that I've got. I've had 13 wonderful years working with our students who, without exception, are fantastic. And when you see them in the corridors of the classroom, they want to interact with you. They want to talk to you. They're really, really good. And I still, to this day, I still catch up with alumni from 5-10 years ago. I still catch up with them and find out how they're doing. So, it's a lifelong connection. It's not you're coming in and you're just part of the school, you leave and we forget about you. And there's relationship with parents. I've enjoyed working with a lot of parents. At the end of the day, we're about the same thing. We want the best for your son or daughter, and having that constructive conversation is what we kind of really want. And then it's relationships with the staff, with the people I work with. I don't think you'll find a school that's got some better staff in it. It's there's some wonderful staff who really devote a lot of time to working with our students.
No, Mark, greatly appreciate those reflections. I want to go to that school, right?
You are the head of that school.
There we go, Mark. So just for our parents listening and for anyone else listening, we're going to kind of shoot the breeze in this way for the next few weeks and reflect on some of those things Mark has highlighted. We might even reverse the roles a little bit with Mark asking me a few questions. But hope you enjoyed that. And have a great weekend, and we'll see you next Friday. Thank you.
Bye.